I want to get one thing clear at the start of this, and that is my interest in this project is all about safety. If these safety issues can go away, I'll be happy. I don't care about noise, I don't care about vibration, I don't care about traffic, I don't care about property values, I don't care about whether this project is a waste of money or not, about whether it's going to generate traffic. I don't care. I just don't want to be killed by some active stupidity that arises from this project, i.e. bad traffic management or sending cyclists into dangerous situations. That's it. We just need to fix the safety issues and the wayfinding issues, and we can move on. That said, let's get this out of the way. What I've done is I've had a bit of a trawl through a bunch of documents that are available online about the Westconnex project. And we're just going to have a look at them here in date order, starting with the instrument of approval, which was signed by the Minister nearly 2 years ago, and then going through a bunch of reports. And I'm just going to do a couple of quick slides on each one to show you that the same requirements repeat again and again and again through these documents. The requirements that we're seeking in terms of wayfinding signage and better facilities for cyclists during the construction are all covered right through these documents, and they have been since the thing was originated back in April 2018. So no one can turn around and say, oh, well, we didn't know about those requirements, or they were hidden in there or something. No, they're in every single document again and again and again. So let's just have a quick look at the instrument of approval, signed by the Minister of Planning, and all good. This is to do the whole project. And if we look at if we have a look inside the instrument of approval, there's all these different conditions, and there's A conditions, E conditions, C conditions, all sorts of things. And you can see here E56, right, we're going to have a road safety audit. E57, pedestrian and cyclist access must be maintained during construction. The relevant standards have to be provided and signposted, etc. It just goes on and on and on. And there's even more stuff in here about when we get to the end of the project about what sort of cycle facilities we're going to end up with as a permanent fixture. But let's not worry about them now. Let's worry about them later on down the end of the project. E55 about road safety. So the CSSI, which is CSSI stands for Critical State Significant Infrastructure, i.e. a big project. Must be designed to meet relevant design, engineering and safety guidelines, including the Austroads Guide to Traffic Management. So it's even been put in there. If we keep on going, leave that one behind, let's get into one that came out 6 months later, which was the pre-construction compliance report. And we can just see when it came out. And again, exactly the same requirements are listed here again. In this time, though, what they've done is they've said, well, what phase of the project do each of these come under? Well, construction. Who's responsible? Well, LSB JV, because obviously at this point they've selected they've done a tender and decided who's going to build the thing, and off we go. Although it does say as part of requirement 56 about the road safety audit is SMC, who was the Sydney Motorway Corporation, was to select the auditor. But again, the same things just come up again and again and again. But when we look at evidence, for instance, it says safe pedestrian and cyclist access will be maintained around work sites during construction. A TTAMP, that's a traffic something and management plan, has been prepared. That was prepared, of course, using the out-of-date and superseded Austroads documents, but let's not go into that. But we're seeing the same stuff again and again. And here we go again. Environmental management issues, etc., about using particular guides and minimise the number of changes to the road users' travel paths, and you got to put in temporary wayfinding signage to warn, inform, and guide. This is a year and a half old at this point, but the stuff that we've been asking for about warning, informing, and guiding cyclists is generally missing or poor. It seems to be quite good for motorists and the truck drivers going to the site, but we miss out. Then just about a year ago, out came the Modification assessment report. for this, and the same conditions appear again and again and again. Nothing new. We've seen this. Let's move on to the next part. Right, then we get a compliance tracking and environmental audit program was set up in May of 2019, and this is quite an interesting, detailed document, that really does specifically reference a whole series of standards, etc., very precisely. For instance, audit programs we monitored, reviewed, and improved as per ISO 19011 2011. I doubt they're using out-of-date guides. The auditors who put this together, I think, were fairly switched on. But again, what do we see? We see exactly the same conditions here. An independent road safety audit will be undertaken, prior to construction or during the detailed design phase. And what's going to come out of that? Well, it's going to be the traffic and transport and access management subplan, the TTAMP. And what we're looking at here is these reports, these construction compliance reports have to come out every 6 months. So remember, this audit guide or what do you call it, reference standard, whatever, was created back in May with the idea that 6 months later the first construction compliance report would come out, and that would cover the period from May to November 2019. And then the next one is actually due next month, May 2020, and it's going to be interesting to see what's in that report. But it is interesting to see when we look at the audit program, it says, what is a non-conformance? Well, it's a failure to comply with a requirement, standard or procedure relevant to the project. And non-conforming activities may be stopped if necessary, and the works will not recommence until a corrective or preventative action has been closed out. Well, I wonder if any cycling safety stuff will ever fall under that area. Anyway, when we keep on going through the audit program, and again, all this stuff about road safety audits and wayfinding and safety and all this stuff. It's just cut and pasted from one document into the next. So no one could ever say, "Oh, we didn't know it was there." And again, more stuff in here about well, we've seen all this before. It's and what else we got? Another requirement here: minimise impacts on the pedestrian paths and cycle lanes, and provide timely alternatives during construction where practical and safe to do so. Righto. So if you'd read through all these documents, you'd see these same requirements coming up again and again and again. They're in every single document. It's not like requirements for putting in better wayfinding for cyclists, etc., are a new requirement that's just popped up in the last couple of months. Then we get on to, there was a staging report done, and again, this report which came out in November, exactly the same stuff is in it. An independent road safety audit, safe pedestrian cyclist access must be maintained around the work sites during construction, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Then we get into the actual first construction compliance report, dated 27th November, although interestingly enough, it must have gone through a lot of internal reviews because it wasn't actually released until the 13th of February. So that's about 10 weeks after it was first drafted. And what do we find in here? Well, interestingly enough, there was a series of things which came up about the traffic, transport, and access subplan. About and every little issue with the plan had to go into this report. So all the amendments, etc., even all the little minor amendments, had to be listed out here. Revision numbers and the dates they're approved and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to really be interested when this report comes out, whenever it does in the next couple of months, how many amendments are going to be listed in there for the TTAMP, and how they explain using superseded Austroads guides, if they can explain it, and how they missed the entire safe systems approach, and what they've done about it. I mean, what changes have they made to the TTAMP, for instance, to add the safe systems approach, and what changes are we seeing on the ground as a result of that. And then we get into the compliance management stuff, and there's this independent role as part of the project called the environmental representative, and they seem to have an interesting job of keeping an eye on things. And you can see here under compliance management the sort of activities that get carried out. So, the environmental representative goes around every 2 weeks and has a look and does site inspections. Now, whether that's frequent enough, that's up for debate. Certainly when I was working on a construction project, I was on site every single day because, I was doing this kind of, checking for compliance by the builders, etc. But, different project, different role. But anyway, they have been on site regularly, every fortnight, looking at all the issues. And they can, in fact, do an environmental and sustainability audit if required, if requested by the Secretary of the Department of Planning. So that is a possibility. There is nothing, I guess, in the scope here to say the environmental auditor, the environmental representative, can't be directed by the Secretary to go and do a safety audit of all the cycling issues that have come up. If we have a look at the breakdown of the incidents which got logged in the first 6 months, this, thing is, what actually is an incident? Well, it's an incident is something which will cause or threaten to cause material harm to the environment, community, or health and safety. Well, I guess cyclists crashing and injuring themselves, would that come under safety? And are all the cycling related incidents and hazards actually making it into the incident tracking system? And we just see the breakdown of the type of incidents. There's a nice little graph. Again, if we go into the non-conformances, well, a total of 12 non-conformances were identified during the reporting period, and every single one of them had to be listed in here. So non-conformance against the project documents, and clearly, the TTAMP, as we've discussed, major non-conformances by not referencing the most up-to-date documentation and missing the safe systems approach. So I don't know how they're going to describe, how they cleaned that up. But you can see, there's a requirement for that to go into this report. So, like I said, it's going to make fascinating reading next month to see what comes out of it. What was the environmental representative up to? Well, okay, they've done 12 inspections, they've raised 33 issues, etc. So, clearly, issues are getting raised during the inspections, etc. And the question I've got is, well, how do we get the environmental representative to actually look into the cycling issues during these fortnightly inspections? What's the chance of getting the environmental representative on a bike to ride through some of these sites and see it from a cyclist perspective with some cyclists and have a chit chat and see what can be done? They're clearly looking at heritage issues and dust issues and vibration and noise and all sorts of other stuff. Well, why not this? Here's just a breakdown of the inspection issues that came up. Well, what does cycling fall under? Is it general? Is it community issues? Is it traffic? I don't know. There's nothing in there for safety, so nothing so far. But under complaint management, you can see that where people were complaining, action was taken. So simple things like they offered to provide people with noise cancelling headphones. Now, I don't know about you, but I know Bose headphones can run to $500 a pair. So if they were offering something like that to a whole family, well, there's a couple of $1,000 straight away. And what about alternative accommodation? If you're getting put up in a hotel, or they're renting you a house or a serviced apartment for months, due to noise, that's running into tens of thousands of dollars. The kind of stuff we're asking for generally in terms of cycling stuff is fairly cheap signage. Would probably fix a lot of these issues, and just a bit of attention to detail. Doesn't have to run into hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix a lot of these things. And speaking of cheap signage, I was riding today around Hen and Chicken Bay, and I spotted these signs have been put up by the City of Canada Bay. And I just wanted to throw these in here because, how long have we had this COVID-19 thing going for? Well, not very long. I'd guess it's probably only in the last 2 weeks that council went, right, we need to get some signs printed up and stuck out all around the foreshore on all of our benches and stuff like that. So how many benches have we got around the foreshore? Count them up. Oh, we've got 200. Okay, what do we want on the sign? It's pretty simple. I mean, you can't read it here, but it's certainly a lot simpler than the Westconnex signage that's gone up. They've adopted the KISS principle. I'm talking about keep it simple, stupid, not the band. These are quality signs. If you look closely at the corners, they haven't just punched holes in them. They've got plastic eyelets in there as well, and these are on all 4 corners, top and bottom, so the things won't tear. I mean, this is a quality job that they've done here. So even when you put the cable ties around it, they're all set up with these eyelets, and so when they get blown around the wind, etc., they're not going to tear and blow off into the harbour. And they've managed to spray these things all over the around the foreshore. So if the council can react that quickly, decide what they're going to put on these signs, and there's a bit of verbiage here, and it's the Canada Bay colours, and they've gone and got some nice imagery down the bottom, get them printed up, get someone to run around with a ute, stick these things up, bingo, game over. Why can the council do it, but it's so difficult to get this done by Westconnex? Anyway, we get into other complaints. Again, so obviously when they say the environmental representative, they're looking at a broad range of stuff. Investigated alleged damage claims, including inspections by independent structural engineers. Offered meetings to residents, and where accepted, provided further clarification around activities, etc. So if the environmental representative is meeting with local residents, etc., to talk about noise, vibration, property damage, etc., can they have a chat with cyclists about safety and wayfinding issues? Right, second last slide, we're almost there. It's not going to be death by PowerPoint. And this was at the end of the report, and it's a sample vehicle movement plan, or VMP, to use the three-letter acronym. And I just wanted to put this in here because this is quite good. You can see that it covers 4 different types of vehicles, from concrete trucks up to semis with trailers. You can see up in the top, there's a route that's only available to vehicles under 9 metres. It talks about all vehicles must use UHF 14. The drivers have to call on UHF approach to confirm access or egress set up for the day. It shows which gates are open, which gates are closed. You can see all the trucks that have to approach this site in St. Peter's. They've got to come along the Princess Highway, turn right into Canal Road, left into Burrows Road, left into Campbell Road, and then in the gate. And then when they're exiting, vehicles under 9 metres can turn left and go up to the Princess Highway, but every other vehicle, if you're over 9 metres, you've got to turn right and essentially retrace your path out the other way. And this is good documentation, as it says down the bottom. Adherence to this VMP is mandatory. Deviation from this plan may find you personally liable for regulatory action from the Department of Planning and Environment. So they're not pulling any punches about people not conforming with the plan, are they? And so I look at this and I think, well, why can't the same level of thought go into the cyclist wayfinding stuff and making sure that we've got good signage out there, that the routes are safe, that signs aren't being put up that actually create hazards, that footpaths are repaired if need be, so you don't go crashing down. Ride-throughs get done before the thing opens to check that it's all okay. This is not rocket science stuff, and clearly, this kind of documentation shows the project is capable of generating it. I think what's lacking is a will to get in there and apply the same knowledge and logic and all the rest of it to cycling issues, as we're seeing applied here to truck delivery issues. Anyway, that's it. Hopefully it's about, just over 20 minutes. I'm going to call it quits until the next video.